Hi there, everyone. It's Marc Laurenson here from Sydney Astrology School. And thanks for joining me as we continue on with the Saturn through the Houses series. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at Saturn in the first house. Now, this is a really interesting placement because if we're going to be looking at Saturn as a planet of mastery, here it is landing in the house of your identity, landing in the house of you. Now, the first house is this. It's the casing. It's that part of us that understands ourselves with the name, and going through a kind of in the body experience and activating ourselves out there in the world. Okay. And so we're going to be taking Saturn out with us, so to speak. Now, Saturn being the planet of mastery, um, we're going to do our best with being able to master ourselves and master our lives. So, what does that actually mean if you've got Saturn in the first house? Well, in a nutshell, it means you are the boss of your existence. You are in total control of who you are and where you're going in life. So, really and truly, when it all boils down, this sounds really, really good. And it's meant to be because you are Saturn. You become Saturn so much so that you are now in a place where you're kind of like the CEO of your existence. Okay. And so, therefore, whatever you want and wherever you're going, you're in the driver's seat of that. Now, here we go with this one. Because if you're in the driver's seat of your life and if you're in total control of your life, then you have to kind of, in a way, come into alignment with Saturn on all levels. In other words, there is a part of you that has to feel like it achieves itself this lifetime. Not necessarily do I achieving stuff out there in the world. That could be part of it too, but it's about achieving the kind of person you really want to be and then activating that to be able to achieve and get what you want out there. Okay. So there is a sense of personal responsibility involved with this. And I want to say this is a really good thing because it's going to keep you on track. Saturn, when it works really well, is about you playing the game properly, playing the game well. It's not about cutting corners. It's not about being lazy. It's not about cheating. It's not about finding the easy way out or becoming enabled. It's about you being able to, in your own way, get to the top of the mountain, so to speak, feeling really, really good about the person you are. And that's what's going to be going through your mind when you're about to leave the mortal coil when you're 103. You're going to be so happy with yourself becoming a person who you admire, becoming a person of integrity and self-respect and dignity of some kind of way and honor. All these wonderful, wonderful Saturn words. That's who you're becoming, and that's what you want to become. And I often find that a lot of people with Saturn in the first house will actually go, "Oh, I take on so much responsibility." And I want to actually say, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. The only person you're responsible for is you. And being responsible for you just makes sure that you are kind of on track with everything you want to be and where you want to go in life. And as I said, for all the right reasons, for all the right intention. The intention behind it has to be strong, full of strength of character. A sense of personal power is involved with this. You're not supposed to be responsible for everything and everyone. I find that's a trap that happens with a lot of people with Saturn, particularly in the first house. They feel that they now, are the responsible ones. So therefore, they're going to have to be responsible for your life, and I'll carry your backpack and I'll get you up the mountain too. It's kind of like, no, No, that's going to be such a heavy load for you. And you don't need to carry anybody else's stuff. They can carry their own stuff. They've got their own charts and their own story. They need to carry their own stuff. It's good to be able to be there to help out when needed and to be a shoulder to cry on and all those kind of things, but never ever, at the expense of pulling you down. Okay. So that's a really important thing for Saturn in the first house people to remember. Um, take authority. Take authority in your life. As I said, you are the author, you are the creator, you are the writer of what's going on here. There is a sense of focus with this and commitment and a sense of, of goal, being goal oriented, but at the same time, um, it's not so much about what I'm doing out there in the world and, climbing ladders out there. I mean, that could be part of it. And if it's part of what makes you happy and feel purposeful, then definitely do it. But it's not necessarily going to be about that and only that. Okay. It's more, as I said, it's more about you. It's more about you becoming the person you want to be. So Saturn in the first house people have to be patient. It's one step at a time. It truly is. And I want to say every step becomes the journey, and you have to enjoy the journey. You have to enjoy every step you take. Saturn in the first house people tend to get better and better and better every year. That's a Saturn thing. It's like wine. Saturn in the first house people, sometimes when they're very young, might find it a little bit restricting. But as they get into their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, it gets better and better and better, as I said, because Saturn really comes into alignment with a sense of maturity. I want to say that Saturn in the first house people, I want to say have to be very, very conscious of respecting themselves, respecting each other, respecting the planet, that kind of thing. As I said, integrity is a big Saturn word, and to become integral and to put integrity at the forefront of your life, so, so important. It truly is. A sense of commitment to things, a sense of knowing what's important and what's not, knowing what works and what doesn't. Saturn doesn't have too much time to hang around, things that aren't working or going around in circles. And it's really good for Saturn in the first house people to know that at a young age and to be able to draw boundaries around what's not working for them and what's not working for them as a person and where they're going in life. It's a very, very I want to say one of it's a placement of Saturn that's I want to say is more obvious than some of the other houses with Saturn because, as I said, you're wearing it. If you've got Capricorn rising, Saturn is going to be the ruler of your ascendant. Some people call it the chart ruler. So again, you're going to probably have a lot of the stuff that I've just talked about, if you've got a Capricorn ascendant as well. Okay. So I like the idea because there's something about, and you don't hear this very often when we talk about Saturn, but there is a sense of freedom that comes with being the authority of your life, that you're in the driver's seat, that you're the one who's out there making things happen. And if people or situations or, outside experiences try to stop you, try to get in your way, this isn't about throwing your hands up and becoming a defeatist. This is about you feeling, I'll get through this. I'll get to the other side of this. It might not be tomorrow, but I will definitely do it. Nothing is going to stop me. Nothing is going to stop me. I'm going to get to the top of my mountain by hook or by crook. And I want to say, by playing the game properly and by playing the game well, honestly, and keeping focus, Um, and being, as I said, and being able to like the person who's looking back at you in the mirror and be able to admire that person, and want to, be in a place all the time of thinking that that person um, is a big, big part of what you've come here to be. That's Saturn in the first house. I really, really like it. It's a great placement to have. So all the people who think Saturn in the first house can just be about being overly responsible and being super cautious. I want to actually kind of stick a pin in that bubble because that to me, that's not Saturn in the first house at all. That's just a human being who's very, very scared, of taking their life into their own hands and being able to see how magnificent it is when we are the boss of our own creation.